What if everything you believe about human beings is wrong? Not slightly wrong. Completely, catastrophically wrong. What if free will is a myth? Progress an illusion? And the idea that humans are special, the most dangerous superstition in history? John Gray doesn't ask these questions gently. He states them as facts. And in 200 pages, he systematically dismantles almost every belief that modern civilization is built on. This is a review of Time's Straw Dogs, Thoughts on Humans and Other Animals. It is one of the most unsettling books I have read. And by the end of this video, you will understand exactly why. And why the Islamic tradition has a devastating response to it. John Gray is a British philosopher and emeritus professor of European thought at the London School of Economics. He is one of the most consistently provocative thinkers writing today. A man who has made a career out of attacking the assumptions that everyone else takes for granted. He is not a religious believer. He is not a conservative in any conventional sense. He is something rarer and more dangerous, a thinker who takes ideas to their logical conclusion, regardless of how uncomfortable that conclusion is. Straw Dogs, published in 2002, is his most famous and controversial work. Will Self called it his book of the year and read it twice. Others called it nihilism, dressed up as philosophy. Both reactions are understandable. Let's find out why. The book has 6 chapters, each subdivided into short, sharp essays, almost aphoristic, like philosophical grenades. Gray's argument builds in a single direction. Humans are not special. Progress is a myth. Free will is an illusion. And humanism, the religion of the modern West, is the most dangerous superstition ever invented. Let's go chapter by chapter. Gray opens with his central and most provocative claim: humans are not special. We believe we are different from other animals, that we have reason, consciousness, free will, and a unique moral status in the universe. Gray argues this is a delusion, a story we tell ourselves to avoid confronting what science actually reveals. We are one species among millions, shaped by the same blind evolutionary forces as every other creature on earth. He traces this belief in human specialness directly to Christianity. The idea that humans alone are made in the image of God, that we have souls, that we are the purpose of creation. Secular humanism, he argues, did not escape this religious idea. It simply replaced God with science and kept everything else. Gray's phrase for this is sharp. Humanism is a Christian heresy. It kept the faith in human uniqueness and moral progress while discarding the God who made those ideas coherent. This is the chapter where Gray becomes most scientifically grounded and most disturbing. He draws on neuroscience research showing that conscious decisions are preceded by unconscious brain activity. In other words, your brain decides before you do. what you experience as a free choice is actually the conscious mind becoming aware of a decision already made at a deeper level. Gray's conclusion: free will is not a fact about human beings. It is a story human beings tell themselves to feel in control of lives that are largely not under their control. He goes further. The unified self, the I that you experience as continuous, coherent, and in charge, is also an illusion. What we call consciousness is not a captain steering a ship. It is a passenger who reads the captain's log and mistakenly believes they wrote it. The self, for Gray, is a useful fiction, a narrative the brain constructs to make sense of the chaos underneath. Having dismantled free will and the self, Gray now turns to morality. And his argument here is the most uncomfortable of the book. If we have no free will, if our choices are determined by processes beneath our awareness, then moral responsibility, as we understand it, dissolves. You cannot be praised or blamed for what you were never truly in control of. Gray calls morality a sickness peculiar to humans, a symptom of our inability to accept our animal nature. Other animals do not torment themselves with guilt. They do not build ideologies to justify their behavior. Humans uniquely dress their instincts in the language of rights, justice, and progress, and then go to war over the definitions. His prescription is not another moral system. It is the abandonment of the search for one. Here, Gray makes his most culturally relevant argument. Progress, he says, is a fact in science and technology. We genuinely do build better machines, develop better medicines, accumulate more technical knowledge. But, and this is his central point, progress in knowledge does not mean progress in wisdom. It does not mean progress in human nature. The same species that invented antibiotics also invented Auschwitz. The same civilization that put a man on the moon produced the atomic bomb. Technology, Gray argues, does not change what humans are. It amplifies what they already are. And what humans already are is a species capable of extraordinary creativity and extraordinary destruction. Faith in technological progress as the solution to human problems is, for Gray, a superstition, as irrational as any religious belief, and far more dangerous because it arms itself with real power. Gray argues that history has no direction, no arc, no destination. The idea that humanity is moving towards something, greater freedom, greater justice, greater enlightenment, is not history. It is theology. Looking for meaning in history, he says, is like looking for patterns in clouds. You can find them, but they are not really there. The most honest thing Gray says in this chapter, every political program in history that promised to deliver humanity to a better destination has either failed or produced catastrophe. The French Revolution produced the terror. Marxism produced the gulag. Liberal democracy produces its own slow disintegration. Progress is a fact, he admits. Faith in progress is a superstition. Gray ends with the image from which the book takes its title. In ancient Chinese ritual, straw dogs were treated with reverence during a ceremony, then trampled and discarded when it was over. Gray's point is stark. That is what we are. Not the purpose of creation, not the masters of the earth, but temporary arrangements of matter used by nature for a time and eventually discarded. He draws on James Lovelock's Gaia hypothesis, the idea that the earth self-regulates as a living system, and argues that if humans continue on their current path of consumption and destruction, the earth will regulate them out of existence, not as punishment, simply as correction. Now here is where this channel adds something Gray cannot. John Gray is a secular philosopher who has spent his career attacking the arrogance of humanism. And on the diagnosis, he is largely correct. The modern West did replace God with the human self. It did turn science into a religion. It did dress secular faith in the language of inevitable progress. And that faith has produced the catastrophes he describes. But Gray's cure is worse than the disease. Having correctly identified that humans are not the masters of creation, he concludes that humans have no special status at all. Having correctly identified that secular progress is a myth, he concludes that all meaning is a myth. Having correctly identified that free will, as modernity defines it, is an illusion, he concludes that there is no will, no responsibility, no moral accountability whatsoever. This is not wisdom. It is despair dressed in philosophical language. The Islamic tradition engages every one of Gray's questions and answers them differently. On human specialness, the Quran does not say humans are special because of their intelligence or their capacity for progress. It says humans were given the amana, the trust that the heavens and the earth and the mountains refuse to carry. Human uniqueness is not arrogance. It is responsibility. On free will, Islam does not claim the kind of absolute autonomous free will that Gray correctly dismantles. Islamic theology holds a nuanced position that human beings act within a framework of divine decree, but are genuinely accountable for their choices within that framework. The Quran does not say you are a passenger with no influence. It says you will be asked about what you chose on progress. Gray is right that secular, linear, inevitable progress is a myth. Islam has never claimed it. The Islamic understanding of history is not progress toward utopia. It is a test, individually and collectively, with no guarantee of worldly success for the righteous. The Quran explicitly says the life of this world is times mata'ul ghurur, a deceptive enjoyment. Gray arrived at the same conclusion through philosophy. The Quran stated it 14 centuries ago. Gray tears down the false god of humanism, but having torn it down, he leaves only rubble. The Islamic tradition tears down the same idol and replaces it with Tawheed, not the self at the center, not humanity at the center, Allah at the center. That is not nihilism. That is the only honest foundation left standing. John Gray is one of the most honest secular thinkers writing today. He sees the emptiness of modern civilization with extraordinary clarity. His diagnosis is sharp. His courage to follow the argument wherever it leads is admirable. But a philosopher who tears down every foundation and offers only animal acceptance in return has not solved the problem. He has described it more precisely than anyone else, and then sat down in the rubble. The question Gray cannot answer is the most important question. If humans are not special, why does it matter that we treat them as if they are? Why does Gray write books trying to persuade people of the truth? If free will is an illusion and progress, a myth, why does he bother? The only honest answer to that question requires something Gray refuses to accept. If this is the kind of thinking you came to this channel for, subscribe and tell me in the comments, do you think Gray is the most honest atheist alive or the most sophisticated nihilist? This is the Enlightened study.